Well, Vancouver City Council is going to review a motion that would bring more business to the Downtown East Side, or at least it hopes it will bring more business to the Downtown East Side. It would include, or rather allow, entrepreneurs and artists and social enterprises to open up in vacant storefronts on a temporary basis. Now, Mike Klassen is the Vancouver City Councillor who authored the motion, and he's been good enough to join us in studio this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Stephen.
So, when I just mentioned this to someone, they said, why on earth would anybody want to open up anything in a vacant storefront in the Downtown East Side?
I think there's a bunch of reasons you'd want to. It's probably more affordable. It provides an opportunity to begin a new business or open an art studio. But I think this is something that we have to try. It's well understood that empty storefronts and the vacancy rate in the Downtown East Side is off the charts. It's over 30%, very high. A normal, healthy vacancy rate in any commercial would be around 7%. And what we really need to do is build that community, but getting there and being able to open a business or take over one of these storefronts is unnecessarily complicated right now. So I'm proposing that our staff develop a temporary occupancy permit, somewhat like a special arts license. You can go in, and this would be for a 12-month pilot, with the idea that at the end of the 12 months, we'll evaluate it and try and create a more permanent solution for that. So an occupancy permit that would allow people to go in, especially in areas all over the city that are facing high vacancy rates in their commercial areas.
So this would not just be aimed at the Downtown East Side. This could happen elsewhere as well.
Ultimately, I think it would go wider. I know that Downtown Vancouver Association is concerned about vacancies on Granville Street, for example. So there are other areas that we could look at. So
what kinds of incentives are you offering then for a business to do this?
Certainly, time and being able to get in there sooner is one of the most important ones. We've seen sometimes that a business operator will go in there, they sign the lease, and then they're stuck waiting for months, paying rent on an empty place, not doing any business, all that money going out the door. This would allow us to get that happening almost immediately. And of course, we're looking to make sure that the spaces are safe from the standpoint of for fire and life safety. We want to make sure that they're properly inspected. But normally what happens is there's a change of use, there's a zoning change. It's very complicated. If you want to take an old government office and turn it into an art studio, it's a very complicated process. We want to make that almost immediate in this 12-month period for this temporary occupancy permit.
So what you're essentially doing then is trying to work around the conditions that the city already has in place.
The city has these conditions, and the reason they're there is obviously to try and make sure that we have some control over these things. But I think ultimately this role as city councillor has allowed me to look more creatively at how we can do things differently. And this is one that may prompt a much swifter. We campaigned on shorter permit times, business license times, or getting access is down to, in some cases, about a day. So we can work much more swiftly, but we want to be able to work with this community especially, which is facing that real hardship of seeing a high vacancy rate.
It seems to me that I've seen pop-ups in the Downtown East Side occasionally. I mean, stores that open up for, a particular amount of time, or maybe an individual, as you say, an artist or a creator of some kind who is going to put their wares on sale for a few days or a few weeks or something. How have those been able to happen?
I'm not entirely sure about those examples, but I can tell you it would sure be nice if somebody didn't have to just stay there for a couple of weeks or a few days. It would be nice if they could stay there more permanently. I have an example that I have. When I was actually supporting the mayor's office back in the late 2000s, I was approached by somebody who was looking at a space, but there was a wall that wasn't decoded. It had been there for 60 years. It wasn't going anywhere. There was apparently a toilet that was on a riser, and they wanted to, and it was all the costs associated with trying to bring it up to the standards that the city had were such a barrier that it was going to be uneconomic to be able to do that. And in the end, that building, after working with the permitting department, getting some relaxations, that space on Hastings Street has now been occupied for 15 years. There's art studio in there. There's musicians playing the business, and not-for-profit in the upstairs space. So that's one example. I think we can broaden that out.
And again, I mean, you're going to run into stuff like that in the Downtown East Side, are you not? Because you're talking about a lot of older buildings.
Older buildings, but of course life safety is the most important thing. But I think that a lot of the spaces are pretty functional, and they're dry, they're well lit. You know, they could work just fine. Some of these places used to be retail businesses for many, many years, and I would imagine the property owners there are probably getting tired of not earning any rent on it at all. So they're ready to do deals and allow us to get some new tenants in these spaces.
And do you have a stable of property owners that are ready to do deals?
I would leave that up to the people who would be able to negotiate those things. But from what I understand, it's just sometimes you just have to call them up and make an offer, and we can get those spaces open again.
I guess my question is, how do you know that there's a need for this? How do you know that there's a market for this, essentially?
I'm going to take it on what I hear from the community. I hear that there's a lot of people who would love to be able to get started. Now, this is a neighborhood that has its own unique challenges. I know that we would love to see more vibrancy in that community over time. And this is not in any way going to displace any residents. It would actually probably, I think it would be welcomed to see more businesses, more open storefronts, and just the availability, maybe at some point, some services that the community could use. So again, we have to try everything right now, and this is just a new idea that I hope that will be effective.
And these tenants would go in at market rent, for instance?
Well, market rent in the Downtown Eastside would be substantially lower, and I imagine, again, if you've not been earning any revenue at all in a building, you might be interested in certainly trying out a 12-month lease at a fairer rate that would allow somebody to be able to start up an untried idea, a new business, or again, an artist studio. Artist studio is not famous for getting a lot of money, but it's a great workspace for people to do creative work.
And you do see things, you know, in bordering Chinatown as well, but I guess between the Downtown Eastside and Chinatown, you know, there's a longboard place. There's a vegan supply store. There's like an MMA gym with a juice bar out front. You know, are these the sorts of businesses you see being patronized by people who live in the Downtown Eastside?
I think, again, some of these ground level retail spaces will probably work as generally workspaces, maybe even offices, startups. But I would say just having the additional people in the community will be really important. We are talking, you know, the Downtown Eastside is very large when you think about it. It does include Chinatown, includes the Oppenheimer District, Strathcona, Hastings Crossing. So all of these areas would be certainly covered under this motion right now. And from what staff are telling me is that they can turn this around by October to come up with this TOP, as I call it, the temporary occupancy permit, and allow us to start businesses going in that area as soon as possible.
Councillor, there are going to be people who hear this and think immediately, oh, there they go, you know, gentrifying again. It's the Downtown Eastside gentrification project continues. That's what the city wants. Convince them otherwise. I
think that what we're looking for are businesses and people that really tie into the social fabric of the community. This is not about bringing in, you know, a chain store or anything like that. This is about really trying to find businesses that are going to. Not everybody's going to want to, you know, take a leap of faith on coming to this community, but those that are, we want to be able to support them, make sure that they feel safe and supported, and allow them to thrive and prosper.
And how do you convince them that they're not going to have to get the hose out and, you know, spray the human waste out of their doorway every morning?
I don't know. It's certainly something we need to look at. I think that being in that neighborhood is going to require, you know, some special measures. And I think one of the things about being a business owner is that you always swept up the front of the street. You always tried to keep it clean and presentable, more inviting, and you know. Let's see what we can do there. Maybe we can work more closely. We do have some contracted agencies like Mission Possible that do work in street cleaning in the area. So I think that we can maybe step those things up once we start to see a lot more traffic inside the neighborhood.
All right. Does this fit into the larger vision that the mayor has for the Downtown Eastside? I
think the uplifting of the Downtown Eastside is definitely something that we're all looking at, and we're looking at it from all standpoints. So this commercial standpoint, I think, is one aspect of it. Of course, the housing piece is really important, and other kinds of supports.
All right. Councillor Klassen, thank you so much.
Thanks very much, Stephen.
Appreciate you coming in. That is City Councillor Mike Klassen, Vancouver City Councillor with ABC Vancouver. Boy, I'm getting all my acronyms mixed up. And NPA, no, they're not there anymore. No, they're not there anymore either. It's ABC now. There we go. Thank you. Councillor Mike Klassen.